Okay, well, I'm here in central London with Benoit Gouez, who's the chef du cave of Moët Chandon. Benoit is in London this week to celebrate the launch of the 2002 vintage of Moët Chandon. Benoit, welcome to London.
Thank you.
Hope you're not too tired. I heard you had quite a late night last night.
No, not too late. Had a good time, but
Okay.
Good night of sleep. So.
Good. Pleased to hear it. We're about to taste through three different vintages, 4 different wines. And it seems interesting to me that the 02 Moët has launched just after the Dom Perignon 2002 vintage.
Yeah.
I understand that's the first time that's happened. So I understand they're for different markets, but that's not an issue that those two are coinciding out at the same time.
No, not at all, because for more than 10 years now, both Dom Perignon and Moët Chandon have been really worked separately.
Yeah.
So it's really about 2 different styles. The wines involved in both blends are different. The style we are looking for is different. So there is no issue of having one being dominant to the other. It's really 2 different brands and styles that are worked separately. And in the case of Moët, the situation is that 2002, that is obviously one of the greatest vintage we have had for very, very long.
Yes.
Ripe, balanced, homogeneous, where all the 3 varietals, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier, perform equally well.
Yeah.
Is highly expected, but I found that our wine was evolving very slowly.
Yeah.
And when it was supposed to be released, let's say 2 years ago, following 2000, I've been afraid to release it prematurely.
Yeah.
And hopefully next to 2002 is 2003.
Yeah.
That comes from a very different year.
And that matured very quickly.
Very warm. That has matured quicker. That has reached, I would say, a nice expression earlier compared to 2002. And I have decided to reverse the 2 vintages, really to give the time to 2002 to fully express its potential.
Of course.
And yes, as since 2000, I'm progressively moving from 5 years of age at release for vintage up to 6 and even 7 now with 2002. To the end, yes, Dom Perignon and Moët can be on the same vintage sometimes, but to us it's not an issue because it's really 2 different wines and 2 different styles.
Yeah, of course. But I understand a lot more Moët wine now is going into the collection for aging for longer. Could you explain a little bit about the reasons why that's happening?
I think for the ones that have had the chance to taste well-matured champagne, speak of champagne, great vintages that have been kept in the cellars for longer to continue their maturation on the yeasts, know it's a great experience. And so far, we were only able to provide that experience when people were visiting us in Epernay. So we have really decided to progressively make such great bottles available to the market.
Yeah.
And hopefully my predecessor, Dominique Foulon, since the beginning of the 90s, started to build up the stocks in the Grand Vintage Reserve in order to be able to release to the market collection champagnes. And the idea, and we'll have 2 of them following 2002, is really each time I release a new vintage to find in the past, in the collection, some other years that have common characteristics with the new vintage.
Of course.
With 2003, it was the solar years, wines coming from very sunny and warm years like 90, 76, 59 or 47. And in the case of 2002, I've looked for vintages that had the same kind of homogeneity at harvest time, ripeness, harmony and creaminess on the palate.
Yes.
And it's going to be illustrated by 2 vintages, 1992 and 1975.
Okay. Well, that sounds very interesting. Can't wait to try them. I think the first one's coming in here, so... And everybody in Champagne seems very happy with the 2002 vintage. So overall...
Yeah, it's been universally declared.
Yeah.
I think whatever your style, whatever your vineyards, whatever your grape supply, whatever your favorite grape varietal, everybody has found in 2002 something right. Because it's been a long harvest under very nice conditions. And to the end, all the wines have been balanced the same way.
Yes.
They reach the same kind of level of maturity and balance. And that is rare. In Champagne, quality can be uneven. Is it the maturity? Is it the cleanness of the grapes? and sometimes some varietal can perform better than others. In the case of 2002, everything performed equally well, and that's rare. Again, always the sign of a great year, and I think everybody, has found the right wines in 2002.
How much has the dosage level changed between this, say, and the previous vintage, the 2000? Was it 2003 and 2000 were at the same time, or just were the 2000 and 2003 out at the same time?
No. 2000 has been released about
quite a while ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
More than 3 years ago.
So you're moving from 03 to 02.
Since 2000, I've looked for 3 elements of evolution in the Moët Chandon brand vintage. Globally, the idea is to move from a Moët Chandon vintage to a vintage by Moët Chandon to put much more emphasis on the vintage character itself.
Yes.
And our style comes second.
Okay.
That means more freedom in the blending, more freedom in the selection of the base wines, more variations in between the varietals from one vintage to another one, and to the end more uniqueness.
Of course.
But also more maturity. I did explain, I wasn't satisfied with 5 years, so I think we have a quality of wine that deserves even more time, so we've moved progressively from 5 to 6 up to 7 when we are now.
Yeah.
And the third element I was looking for was the reduction of the dosage.
Yes.
In order to make wines, complex and mature, but yet compelling. And on 2003, there was such a natural richness, due to the ripeness of the year and the low acidity, that the dosage was already low at 5 grams per liter.
Yes.
And in the case of 2002, I would say the 2 extra years on the yeast have developed even more richness in the wine, allowing me to keep the dosage again low at 5.5 grams per liter. And I would say the originality, the uniqueness, the level of maturity and the level of dosage are standards I'm looking for keeping for the future vintages to come.
Yes, because that's quite low, isn't it? 5.5.
It's low, and at the same time, I think it's good enough to keep the balance, to preserve the aging potential of the wine. But again, it has to be adapted according to each vintage.
Of course.
I don't like to work with too much rules, especially with the vintage. Vintage for me is about freedom, it's about freestyle.
Of course.
It's really about listening to every single wine and to give to every single wine what it needs.
To give respect the characters.
Of maturity, in terms of dosage.
Of course.
And if I believe there is a vintage that asks for 3, I might go for 3. If another one asks for 7, I might go for 7.
Yes, exactly.
I really, with the vintage, want to be open to provide a unique experience each time, and to respect the wine itself and give it what it needs.
Okay, perfect. Well, finally, if you could just talk us, you've probably done this a million times, but if you could just talk us through your tasting notes of the 2002 vintage, that would be great.
Obviously, you have the fruity side that is based on I would say ripe summer fruits, considering the ripeness of the grapes we have harvested. Let's say around apricot, about peach, nectarine, juicy, not overripe, still crunchy, but with ripe flavors. And nowadays, with the 7 years on the yeast, it has really developed the maturity side, the yeasty side, with more brown nuts of mocha, of toast, of roasted cereals that really complement well the fruit. So now we have a very nice complexity in the flavors. It's intense, it's complex, both fruity and yeasty. So it's what you expect from a great champagne.
Fantastic. And in terms of aging, what do you think the aging potential is of this vintage?
Two elements in the answer.
Okay.
For the bottles that are released now, 5 to 10 years without any problem.
Great.
But again, myself, I consider that once the champagne has been disgorged, then starts the oxidative aging. So progressively, you are going to lose the fruity side and the fresh side, and develop more oxidative flavors. For the bottles that I still have in the cellars for the future collection, I expect this wine to be to be around for the next 20, 30, 40 years. You know, it has such a, because the other side is really the mouthful.
Yeah.
It has a very nice richness, very harmonious, very creamy.
Yeah.
But yet the finish is still firm.
Yes.
With a good structure and a pleasant acidity well integrated. And the low dosage helps to preserve that energy on the finish and to make the finish very precise and very, very persistent. So it's a very long-lasting taste in the 2002.
That's very good to hear. Well, I hope you have plenty of it to keep us drinking it for years to come. Benoit Gouez, Chef de Cave of Moët Chandon, thank you very much.